What programming language, what architecture do I use? Hey everyone, so Nick here from Drag. Give you a bit of a summary. We had an idea a few months ago. The idea's got a load of traction. The idea is to bring the likes of a Trello style board called Kanban into Gmail to begin with, and then take it into other browsers like Outlook and a few others. We've got to the stage that we have qualified the idea. We've qualified the idea by putting it on a few places with early access. And we've had over 3,400 early access invites. So for me, it's mega exciting. For me, it means absolutely go for it now. Please reference back to our last videos because there's some really good insights into why we pre-qualify instead of going straight into building a product. But we're now at the stage we need to build a product, and so many of you are going to have questions. What programming language, what architecture do I use? To give you some context, I am not technical, I am commercial by nature. My background is agency. However, I have and do operate some small SaaS products that work in different environments. So I've been exposed a little bit and start to understand from a non-technical perspective how and what and when to decide on certain things. So we have one product which is C#.NET framework, or with Microsoft backend and things like that. We have another one which is Ruby on Rails, and we have another one which is Ruby on Rails also. So when we're looking to create something like Drag, which is the concept for Kanban inside email, how do we go about deciding what framework to use? The honest answer is it doesn't matter too much. That's the simple one. The more complex one is if you know your stuff and you're aligned to a certain programming language, then you may want to go down that particular route. But what I would say is that certain types of products will fall into certain categories when you are looking to either engage with a developer or do the developments yourself. I'm going to add a lot more show notes to the bottom of this video as well, so there's a bit more detail. I'm referencing some great sources online. But let's start with something like Ruby on Rails. Ruby on Rails is really, really fast. It's a framework. Ruby is the programming language. Rails is the framework. So when you put the two together, you have a base level programming language, but you have a framework around this. So what Ruby on Rails would enable you to do, because it's not just a language but a framework, is build products really quickly, prototype products really quickly. So when you're looking to create CRUD applications, which is create, read, update and destroy, and it's on a small prototype level, Ruby on Rails will probably be the fastest thing that you can develop something in. And it's really, really, really fast to achieve that. The problem with something like Ruby on Rails is that you'll find that whilst it has scale, it may not scale as well as some other applications. So when it comes to concurrent users, the number of users that might be jumping in and using your tool, then it can start to have certain implications on different things that you need to do. So to go into more complex details, you may need something like a Sidekick, which is a third-party application that helps with concurrency and controlling larger infrastructure and stuff like that. But if you're going to do a really, really simple application that's CRUD-based, Ruby on Rails may be the way to go. Some people say Ruby on Rails is in decline. If I'm honest, there's a massive community out there and there's a lot of people that support it, and you'll get a lot of good quality people using Ruby on Rails. And also bear in mind that's important with Ruby on Rails is that you will find that people will build in a consistent way, which means to mitigate your own risk, if you want to take that application and hand it to another developer, typically it will conform to certain standards and a certain way of doing things. So for example, user authentication, someone wants to log in, administration, things like that, will be done in one fixed way because it would use a Ruby gem, they're called. So you'll have a certain way of doing it. That's my experience of Ruby. It's great. It's wrong for some things, but it's right for the majority of stuff. So just consider that as an option. Another one is C#.NET framework. That's a really hard one. I've had a lot of experiences with that and a lot of successes with that. What I found is that it's longer to develop, but it has a lot more enterprise level scale to it. So one of our businesses has a lot more users, a lot more concurrent things happening. So to have it built on a Microsoft application with an enterprise level server allows us to scale in the correct way. There are a lot of very thorough C# developers out there that are very, very, very credible. They're harder to find and source and procure than the likes of Ruby on Rails. So you then again have to consider the commercial implications to that, such as if I need to take it away from a certain development resource or team or people, how easy is it to build or scale my team and things like that. So just something to consider. Then there's other frameworks like Python. Python I would align with the likes of Ruby on Rails. Python, has some frameworks similar to Django, and it allows you to do a lot of things similar to Ruby on Rails. Python's really good for data analysis and things like that. It has a huge plethora of libraries, so if you need to do image analysis, or if you need to do some sort of data science or things like that, Python's really great for it, and it's fast to build on. You'll then have some other language types like C++ and things like that. They're going to Java, they're going to loads of detail. So if you need a perfectly built application that's absolutely optimized, and it's very, very, very unique and very case specific, people may build in applications such as Java and C++, but in my opinion, in my view, in the startup world, which is where I'm at, and apologies again, I'm sure we're going to get some very credible programmers commenting on this, disagreeing with my opinions. In my view, as a commercial person in a startup, I would go with something like Ruby on Rails, I would go with something like Python, I would also go with something like Node.js, which is something that we've been suggested to start to build for Drag as well. Node.js is effectively a JavaScript, but it's back-end JavaScript. So to be able to build your whole stack in JavaScript has a lot of value. I can't talk too much about Node.js yet, but that's what we have our eye on for Drag as an application. I hope this makes sense, and I hope it gives you a base level commercial understanding, which is what I was wanting to do today, around how you start to go into deciding what programming language to go for. One last point is that if you are commercial like me, but maybe you don't have the previous experience, I would start talking to people. I would start speaking to third-party development agencies, software companies. I would find freelance software people. I would find offshore. I would find potential employees, and I would go to networking events. Outside of this decision around what architecture you would like to do for programming language, I think it's really important to get a range of advice from different people, and then make your own informed decisions based on the things that are consistent, the things that are being said are consistent, and make your own kind of judgment on whether they are biased or unbiased in their views. And you can do that by the number of conversations that you have. I hope this makes sense. It's a bit of a weird video to do, but I think it's really important when you get to the stage that you've qualified your idea, it's working. Now, how do you start developing it? So one of the first things is to understand and start to read into the programming languages you might want to go with. Thank you so much.